Hello. In one of my previous posts, I spoke about the increasing level of couples who are afraid to get committed into a relationship. And it's getting quite alarming where couples date for a long period of time and the fear that when they get married or they commit to the relationship, something will happen is increasingly getting higher and higher. And I want to dive a little bit deep into it. And I think I do remember the first thing that we mentioned was fear of vulnerability, fearing that if the person you're getting married will still love you if they see you for who you are. And there are a couple of solutions to that. You have to gradually expose yourself to the relationship. Practice, sharing your thoughts, your fears, and do your best to, you know, dream in small doses. Share your dreams and your goals and aspirations with the person you're interested in getting married to, and then learn to be vulnerable. Learn to if something hurts or something is uncomfortable or you feel disappointed or something that didn't measure up to what you're looking for, say it and be bold and confident to talk about it. Just say it in a very loving and respectful way. Don't say it as it is and just blab out anything at all that you want to say. Learn in ways where you can model vulnerability. When we say vulnerability, it means that practice being vulnerable, practice talking about things that you are uncomfortable with, practice talking about things that you disagree with. It's okay to do that. And when we hold back and we are not opening up, sometimes that creates that environment where we feel we're walking on eggshells. And I also want to say that it also depends on how long you've known this person. Knowing somebody for a short period of time could create this environment where you don't feel comfortable or you're afraid to go into marriage with this individual. So give it time. Most specialists say dating for about 2 years is a good time to move forward and getting married. So if you've been dating for a few months, of course, give it some time. And I'm not here to say that you should date somebody for what, 4 or 5 years. No, that is also another sign of a person's inability to commit to a relationship. So make sure that you've given it time. So the first thing we're learning here is learn to be vulnerable. Expose yourself to vulnerability slowly and carefully. There's a scripture in 1 Peter 3:7 that says, live with your wives in an understanding way. I think it goes both ways too, where women should also learn to live with their husbands in an understanding way. So both of you learn to understand each other. Learn to know who this person you're interested in committing your life to. It's a process and you have to be careful. We do this all the time when you're you get a new device, whether it's a phone or it's a TV. You go through the manual. You take your time to get to know this device you're going to be using, and you're able to use it to its full capabilities. So in the same way, let's get to know each other. Let's be confident about that. I think that will help us to be able to move forward in our relationship. The next one is the fear of rejection or abandonment. And I hinted on that in our last post that, what if, they leave when I need them most? Or what if they abandon me sometime in the relationship when they get to know the person I really am? And again, that's why during courtship or dating, it's important that you get to see, his family, her family, get to see both of you in different situations, anniversaries, weddings, parties, Christmas, Easter, all these events. When you visit each other's families, it gives you the opportunity to really to get to know each other and also see each other in different situations, how they react with their own family, especially the men, how the men treat their mothers and sisters, and how the women relate to the men in her own family. That gives you a picture of how you are going to be treated as well. So moving on, some of the root causes of, the fear of rejection and abandonment is childhood attachment issues. Now, when it comes to attachment, there's a resource I'll highly recommend. It's by Mylan Malkovich, and the title is I'll recollect the title the second, but they have some resource on YouTube. You can really watch. It really contains a lot of information. How We Love. That's the title. How We Love. When you there's a free video, you can go through the entire video and understand lifestyles and attachment and how that pertains to your relationship. It's very specific, and that's why I'm recommending this. So previous relationship that ended unexpectedly or did not end well. That's another reason why, or could be the cause of why we are afraid of rejection or abandonment. And the last one is low self-esteem or low self-worth. So I think one of the resources we have on our website is loving yourself, knowing how to love yourself and be comfortable with the person you are, so that when you get into a relationship, you have that confidence. And also, if a relationship ended for any reason, sit down and do a personal analysis why it ended. Did you contribute to it? Did the other person contribute to it? Areas where you believe you contributed to it, own up to it, learn your lessons, and let that prepare you for what is ahead. If the other person caused it, then that person is now out of your life. So that's not going to happen anymore. So use this as a way of determining how you can build yourself up to move forward. Assure yourself, reassuring yourself and building habits that will help you affirm yourself, and your commitment to yourself and also to each other will help you overcome that. And there are little ways you can do it by having rituals, sending text certain times of the day, or meeting at certain times of the week to have dinner or to talk or to get to know each other in ways that will help you to overcome this fear of rejection and abandonment. I think that is very important. Now, another area also is learning conflict resolution skills. I know as you're dating, there'll be times where both of you will be in conflict. And the question is, how are you handling this? We've seen couples where even while dating, they are not handling conflict well. And that's giving them a lot of pause and anxiety about what will happen when we get married. And the truth is, we've said many times over that you will get into conflict. But the question is, how do you deal with it? How are you going to resolve it? How are you going to handle it when conflict comes? And that we have a whole resource on that. I'm not going to get into the details. Go to our website, enjoylifewithyourspouse.com, and there's so much there on conflict resolutions and how to approach it. So the next thing that will help us to overcome the fear of rejection and abandonment is building a support network. Having a strong circle of friends and family, who we can do life with. I often tell couples that don't marry in isolation. When you're married, have people you do life with. Have other couples who are in the same season of life as you are, and spend time with them. Go on double dates, spend time doing things with other couples, and that will help build that base, that foundation that you need to build. And in that process, you're going to learn from these couples as well. There's so much that they're going to teach you, and you in turn will also teach them things that as well. So build this base. It really helps. Do not marry in isolation. We need each other. You need a community. You need a tribe. You need a support system, to help you grow in your relationship. The next is fear of losing independence. I mentioned this also in the short post, that people who've lived for especially a long time, been single for a very long time, the fear is that what will happen if I get married? Will I be able to see my friends or go on a trip with my girlfriends, or with the men? Will you be able to buy the things that you want to buy? The answer is yes, you will be able to do that. But in this instance, since you're married, there's a way you need to go about it. The fear of being controlled or subdued by somebody in a relationship tends to crop its head up But the point here is that you're not being controlled. You're sharing your life with another person. Another one is also cultural expectations, and this is huge. For example, for especially for those of us who are immigrants, or have lived in another country or are living in another country from where you were born. There are certain cultural expectations. A man is supposed to do this, a woman is not supposed to do that. And now we live in a world where roles are crossing paths, where you see situations where um, the woman works and the man is home taking care of the children. It's quite typical. You see situations where the man cooks and does all the cleaning, and the woman doesn't. She takes care of running the administrative aspects of the home. So when these situations happen, it does not mean that you are losing your power or your independence. But the key thing here is that define individual and shared goals. Sit down and talk about what you will do, what I will do, and agree upon it. And if there's something you feel that your wife is not comfortable doing, talk about how you can take up that responsibility. And it goes the other way as well. Make space for you to dream and or be ambitious and think of things that you want to do. And if your spouse comes to you with ideas and say, maybe your wife comes to you and say, I want to open a nursing school. Don't mock at that idea. Maybe you've known her to be somebody who's not very ambitious, but if it's a dream, encourage that dream and not belittle that dream. Negotiate boundaries. What works for you and what doesn't. One area is, let's say as a guy, you like bringing your friends home to watch football or to eat and just hang out. But you have a wife who does her social cup gets full very quickly, meaning that she's around people for some time and she's had enough. She wants the quiet and peace in the house. Negotiate those boundaries. There are ways that you can talk about it and decide that, okay, how about your friends come at lunchtime and they can stay till maybe 7 p.m. or your wife can take a nap during the day, and then later on in the evening she has the energy to stay up a little bit whilst your friends are there. Or on the day your friends are coming, she can go out with her friends too. That's also a negotiation right there that you can come to that will help both of you be able to enjoy your time. Celebrating your individuality is another thing. Encourage each other to grow. This is one way that you feel you are not losing your independence. If your husband wants to go back to school and get his master's degree, encourage him to do that, and encourage yourself to continue to evolve as an individual, and don't feel that now you're married, you can't do anything. There are people who've gone back to for their PhDs whilst they were married, and it's very, very possible, So think of things that you want to do as a married couple. What are your goals? What are your aspirations? What are things that you've thought about that this is one thing that we think is going to help us grow? Have a vision board. I believe in vision boards. Having a vision board helps you to put some images and ideas of things that you want to do in the future, and by putting it on a board and writing them down, you'll be able to achieve them. The fear of change is another one. What if something happens that you feel it's out of your control? Our entire lives, whether you're single or not, things happen that is totally out of control. A few years ago, COVID happened and it was out of our control. And so many things happened. The unfortunate was people losing loved ones, which was very, very unfortunate. But these are things that happen where all of us as people in our community and the world had to deal with. So we're going into a relationship knowing that things will happen that are out of our control. But the question is, how adaptable are you when things happen? How resilient are you when things happen? How are you able to adapt and find resources, and what are you going to do to get through them? Resistant to routine disruption is another one. When you have a routine that is disrupted. And I tell you, getting married, a lot of your routines will be disrupted. It will happen, not in a bad way, but knowing that, you have a routine, there's a way you do things, and then all of a sudden, one day, it just changes. And it's something that when it happens, you have to know that that's where your skills and your negotiation and the things that you've discussed come into play. The last thing is fear of change. Change is, they say the only thing that is guaranteed is change. Change will always happen. Seasons change. As we grow, we change. A few years ago, I didn't have so much gray hair. Well, I had gray hair when I was 9, so I've had gray hair for a long time. But the truth of the matter is now I have more. And that's change. And we have to know that things will change. But the question is that what causes us to feel that way? Anxiety about the unknown. There are some people who are prone to anxiety. They get anxious about everything. Fear of losing comfort or predictability can also create this fear of change. You're afraid that, the comfortable life you've had since you've been single is going to be taken away. But I want you to see it in a different way, that it's just going to get better, because you're going to have somebody else in your life you're going to share this life with. And also you will have moments where you will be able to spend time the way you want to spend time. The first solution to this is normalize change. Anything that you think that is going to be uncomfortable, make it normal. Make it as part of your new life as a married person. Talk openly about it, involve your spouse, whether it's career, your body, you aging, talk about it and see how you can adapt together with it. Create stability within the change. Have certain areas where you can still go back to the normal, at least the first few years of your relationship. When those moments come and you feel that change is coming, that's too much, step back into the normal a little bit. And stepping back into the normal doesn't mean that go back to your parents' home or leave your marriage home. That's not what we're saying. But create that environment, whether it's spending some time with your friends, whether it's taking a trip by yourself, that will help you step a little back into the normal, and then you can prepare on how you can step back in. Practice flexibility together. One of the things my wife and I did was, when we go on trips, I want to do everything. I want to go to the art museum. I want to, visit food market. I want to, if there's a theater, I want to see a show, and it didn't take me long to realize that I was overwhelming my wife with too many things to do. So one of the things that we agreed to do was, when you go on a trip, let's say a week vacation, especially if it's the two of us, the one day we'll have a day of, I'll say, medium activity, and the next day we'll just take the day off. She can sleep the entire morning, and then later in the evening we can go out and do something, maybe go out to eat and hang out a little bit before the day is over. Sometimes while she's sleeping, I will step out and do things, go see places. I already have my list of things to do within that city, so I'll spend some time doing that while she's resting. And so when we get together again, I've had enough of my time together with myself, and she's had time resting. So we're able to move to another thing. So there are ways by which we can address this and handle this and help us to set the stage for our lives together as husband and wife. It does not always mean something is wrong or we cannot overcome it. Think of it as you're living your life now as a single person. When you were a teenager, you probably shared a room at some point with your siblings, and at some point you got your own room and you moved to your own apartment, and life has evolved, and it's definitely going to keep revolving. So don't let these things create points of pain that will hold you back from enjoying your life together with your spouse as you prepare to get married. We hope that these ideas will help you. Know that romance and deep connection is not built in a day. It's built in the small moments where you learn to connect and you learn to be vulnerable and you learn to also talk about your roles. That's when you build deep connection. Thank you. We're so happy that you joined us. We invite you to follow us on TikTok and on YouTube and on Facebook. And also you can visit our website anytime at enjoylifewithyourspouse.com. Thank you and God bless you.